then she attended OU. And she was in social, what was it, social work was her degree at OU. And that's where she met her husband, Jay. And it sounded like she needed a science elective, so she chose a botany course. So the obvious thing that pops into your mind is, oh, that's where her inspiration came from, right? But apparently you would be wrong. That's not where her love of botany came from either. So she's going to have to tell us how she got her interest in botany and how she came to taking on a project like this. She did inherit from her father a love for knowledge and research and a love for the outdoors. And apparently she is a family, or her family, watched Grizzly Adams a lot, which was in, Colorado is where that took place. And she developed a love for Colorado just from the TV show. And so always wanted to move to Colorado. So when she and Jay were finished with their schooling in Oklahoma, they found a way to come out to Durango. He runs the State Farm Agency here in town, one of the state farm agencies here in town. And they moved out here and have been here for 26 years. And she's raised 4 kids, and they're all doing quite well. But none of this explains how she became so interested in botany, and so much to the extent that she's actually publishing a guidebook. So she's going to have to tell you that. So with that, Karen.
All right, I'll stand right here for just a second so that the people on Zoom can see who I am. Thank you so much, John, for that introduction. John and I, like you said, we've been working together for the past couple of years and just doing a lot of botanizing together and going out in the field. And I have helped him a little bit with the what is it called? Center, Nature Center.
Durango Nature Center.
Nature Center. But really, he's helped me a lot with my going out and finding the flowers and helping me with a lot with some of the flowers that I didn't know. I had trouble figuring them out. And I'm like, John, come with me, come look at this flower. So he come out and helped me. And also I needed a microscope at one time. And so he allowed me to come over and look at some stuff under the microscope. So really, I appreciate you, John, over the years.
It's been fun.
Yeah. Now I stand up here and I'm not an expert. I want you guys to know that. This is like a process of learning, and I'm still learning a lot. So I do not claim to know everything. So with that, I am going to introduce you to just how I'm going to do like 3 different sections. So the first section of my talk will be how I came to the place that I wanted to do the book. The other is the process of how I did the book. And then last, I will show you pictures of flowers that I found and also pages in my book. So just kind of bear with me. It won't be until the end, so you guys will just have to hang in there. But this is exciting, and I do appreciate being able to do this talk. So.
Whenever you want the lights.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Have another option. Is this okay for everybody?
Okay, so this is where it all began. This is our daughter Hannah, and she was 4 years old at the time. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So does anybody have any idea where this might be?
Oh.
Engineer.
No, actually, it's Kennebec Pass. Yeah. So we, my family moved here in 1997, and at the time we had 2 little girls, Hannah and Rebecca. They were 4 and 2, and we had some friends from Tulsa, Oklahoma, that used to live in Durango, of all places, and they came to visit, and they wanted to go to their old stomping ground, which was La Plata Canyon. And they said, because they knew that we had moved here, they said, hey, would you like to come with us up to Kennebec Pass? Do you have a 4-wheel drive? And we said, well, yeah, we just happened to have bought a 95 Gold 4Runner, and we would love to try that out. So we drove our 4Runner, we followed them all the way up the mountain, up to Kennebec Pass. And when we got up there, I was stunned at how wonderful the flowers are and how beautiful the mountains are. I had never done a 4-wheel drive road before in my life. And so that was like so fun. We were hooked. So my husband and I continued the next 6 or 9 years, actually, just taking 4-wheel drive roads and exploring around, Colorado, Silverton. It was just so much fun. But in 2006, we had 2 more children. So we have 4 children, and we had a dog and a Suburban, because you have to have a Suburban to accommodate the dog and the kids. And there was one place that we wanted to go, and that was American Basin. So that beginning of that summer, Durango Herald had an article about a lady. All right. Does anyone know who this is?
Goody.
Yeah, Goody Gaskell. So there was an article in the Durango Herald about her, and I think she was maybe 80s at the time. This was in 2006. And I read the article and I was inspired. She was just an inspirational woman. She was an integral part of putting together the Colorado Trail. And I love it because, for one, she's a woman. Second, she had a dream, and she was willing to accomplish that dream and to work hard to accomplish that dream. She also wanted others to appreciate the wilderness and to have access to the wilderness. And also, she's a plant person. And so she loves teaching, and she loves sharing her knowledge with other people. So she really gave back to people and to the community that she loved. It said in the article that she had a camp that she would do. And so you could go up into the mountains and you could stay with her for a whole week. And then she would take you into American Basin and she would tell you all about the flowers for a whole week. And I thought, oh my gosh, that would be the most amazing thing ever. But of course, I had 4 kids under the age of 12, and there was just no way I could take the time away to do that for a week. So instead, on the same page was an article about something else, and it was this book. So this book by James Ells, it was touted as like the best flower book at the time. And I thought, okay, if I can't go with Goody and spend time with her, then I'll just buy this book, and then I'll figure out what all the flowers are. And so we set out with my book that summer, and we drove over to American Basin with our kids and our dog. And we looked at all the flowers. And of course, I was like opening my book and marking and making a list and everything, trying to figure them all out. I was just having so much fun. And so I just wanted to show you a picture of. So this was our kids at the time. So Hannah, our oldest, was 12, and then Rebecca was 10, Micah 7, and Lydia was 4. And this is our dog Boomer, and he was a year old. So, and I don't know about you, but when you get a dog for your kids, who ends up walking the dog? Yeah, yours truly. So when we went back home, of course, I'm walking the dog every day, but I don't walk him on the street in our neighborhood. I'm just one that I just want him to go off leash and go down the greenbelt and the gulch. And so, I mean, what else can you do but look what's around you? And I started noticing that my neighborhood had a lot of wildflowers, and I live in Durango West too. So, and I thought, wow, this is kind of cool. Like, the flowers aren't just high in the mountains, like we have them right here where I live. And so I took my James Ells book and I started going through it and making a list of all the flowers that I could find in my neighborhood and trying to figure out what they were. And so what I ended up doing was, I ended up making my own little book of the flowers in my neighborhood. And this was just for myself. It was just to put on the, coffee table or whatever for people to come in and go, oh, you have a lot of flowers in your neighborhood. But the problem is that I only had common names in my book. And so I was talking to a friend one day, and I don't know if anyone knows Vicky Oshaki, but she's a plant person, and she said, you know what? These are all common names, and they're really not that important as the scientific name. And my heart just sank, because I was like, oh my God, I think this was like maybe in 2014, 2015, I don't know. I thought, oh my gosh, I can't learn those. That's impossible. I can't even pronounce them. So anyway, she went on to explain why scientific names are more important. And for those of you that are new to scientific names, scientific name is very specific to each flower. So 2 flowers are not going to have the same scientific name. It's very specific. Whereas with a common name, 2 flowers can have the same common name. And I've heard that before. Like I'll be on the field with somebody and they'll be like, oh, this is, I don't know, white top. And I'll be like, oh, well, I thought that was something else, or I thought something else was white top. So you can never agree on common names. And even around the world, the same flower can have names, and every single country will have their own name for that flower, but they will agree on the scientific name. So even if I don't know Chinese, I can talk about Lepidium draba and they will know exactly what I'm talking about. So I knew she was right. I knew I had to learn. So I needed more help though. I needed to find something else, another source that could help me, really be more accurate in identifying these flowers. And so I happened upon this website, and southwestcoloradowildflowers.com. I'm sure a lot of you have used this website. Al Schneider is the person that has put together this website, and he is a wonderful man. But when I got on this, I started learning. His website teaches people about flowers and about characteristics of different flowers, about how to look for these characteristics. It's, I started going through, of course, and looking at the pictures, but when he posts pictures of flowers, he doesn't do just one picture. He posts many different pictures of that flower. But then he also talks about what the scientific name means. Who discovered the plant. He talks about why these plants are different from each other. He talks about different plants that might be similar, that might look similar, but yet they're different in these ways, and he'll just make all this list. So then I started really understanding that I had to take a closer look at a plant, and that's where a hand lens comes in. So I started using a hand lens and started looking at those hairs or the leaf shape or, whatever the flower cluster looked like, or the flower petals. You just start noticing things that I had never noticed before. But he has a wealth of information on this website. You can get on it to learn how to key out plants. There's things on how to take pictures. About scientific names and their meanings. I mean, there's just all kinds of information. So in 2018, I guess, I'm just it's hard to come up with exactly the time frame of everything. I'm just guessing, but around 2018, I was trying to figure out some purple asters in our neighborhood. And there's a lot of purple asters. So I could not figure out the difference between them. And so I thought, well, I'm just for the fun of it, I'm just gonna see what's on Facebook. So on Facebook, there is the Colorado Native Plant Society page. And I got on there and I realized that people on there were posting pictures of plants and asking people what they were. So I thought, oh, I think I'll do that. So I posted a picture of a plant of a purple aster. And lo and behold, it was Al Schneider that commented on my picture. And I was shocked. I was like, oh my goodness, Al actually commented on my picture. So, and he told me exactly what it was and why it was what it was. And I commented back and I said, Al, is there any way you can tell me, like, what book do I buy? How do I figure out how to identify plants so that I don't have to bother you? And he commented back and he told me to buy these two books. So Flora of the Four Corners Region and the Plant Identification Terminology by Harrison Harris. So these are, the Flora of the Four Corners Region is it's just, you have to have it if you're gonna try to identify flowers here. But the problem with it is you have to figure out how to use it because it's not easy. That's why you have to have the glossary, because you have to look up I have to look up every single word in order to get through the thing. But I do want to show respect to Ken Heil. He passed away not too long ago, and I never got to meet him, but I heard that he was a wonderful man, and he has dedicated so much to the flowers and plants in this region. So I know he'll be missed. So my next step then was to learn how to use this book. So those of you who are not familiar with a key like this, there are really no pictures. And what pictures you do have, they're drawings. So I went from looking at pictures, colored pictures, to this. So usually I'm just going to give you just a taste. We're not going to go through the whole thing, but I just want to give you a taste of what it's like to go through one of these books. I know everyone knows what a sunflower looks like. So just picture a sunflower in your head. I'm just going to tell you what family that's in. And I think you can all probably guess what family. It's a sunflower family. You don't always know what family things are in. And so you have to start out from the very, very beginning of this book and key it out to the family. But we're not going to do that. I'll just tell you it's the Asteraceae family, which is the sunflower family. So then you go through the key and there's like couplets. So the couplet is number 1 couplet, and it says corollas all ray-like, plants usually with a milky juice. So I'm going to tell you now that the sunflower has both ray and disc flowers. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with this, the sunflower is a composite of many flowers. It's not just one flower. So there's disc flowers and there's ray flowers. So you have this disc in the center, and it's just full of tubular flowers. And sometimes they're yellow, sometimes they're purple. In the sunflower, it's usually purple. I have found some yellow ones. And then on the outside of the disc, from the disc, there is radiating the yellow petals, and that's what you notice, is the yellow petals. So each one of those yellow petals is actually a flower, and each one of the tubular flowers inside that disc is also a flower. So you have a composite of like hundreds of flowers, and that used to be called the Compositae family. That's how you pronounce it. So we're gonna move on to the second number 1 there. It says corollas not all ray-like. Some of them are tubular, juice seldom if ever milky. So they are not all ray-like. We have disc and ray flowers. So we go on to number 2. So then we look at those 2 couplets. Heads discoid, corollas all tubular, or heads radiate, corollas not all tubular. So they are radiate because you have those flowers radiating, the petals radiating off of that disc. And they're also not all tubular. You have ray and disc flowers. So then we move on to 3. It says pappus of capillary bristles, or we have pappus of awns or scales. Now you would have to open up the head of this flower in order to know what the pappus looks like. If you guys know what a dandelion fluff looks like, if you've ever blown on that fluff and made a wish and it carries the seeds away, that's pappus, but that's only one kind of pappus. You've got different kinds of pappus here, pappus. Sometimes it's awns or scales. So the sunflower, the common sunflower has awns or scales. And so we move on to number 4, and it says pappus lacking or pappus present. Well, I've just told you that there is pappus and it's awns or scales. So then we go on to key 5. So then we will move on. So we go to key 5 and we go through it the same way that we just did until we get to the genera. And that's when you figure out that it's Helianthus is the actual genera for common sunflower, Helianthus. So then we go through all of these couplets again to get to the species. And we come down to Helianthus annuus. So I don't know if you guys see that. Do you see my cursor? So then we have Helianthus annuus. And it describes why that is that specific species. And you can tell just reading that a lot of those words are just words that we're going to have to pull out that glossary and figure out what they are. Here, so after you figure out that it is Helianthus annuus, then we go down and we read the description of that. Okay, so obviously this takes some time to learn, and it was, I gave up the first year. After I bought the book, I was like, you know what, there's no way. It was really the end of the summer that I bought the book. And then I just kind of waited. I just didn't open it up until the following summer, and then still couldn't figure it out. And I thought I really need some help. So I noticed that on Al's website, he said, email me if you have any questions. So I thought, oh, I'm just going to take him up on it. So I emailed him and I said, you know, do you have any classes? Do you teach any classes on how to key out flowers? Because I said, I really, really want to know what these flowers are. And I can't figure it out. I can't figure out the book. So he said, well, I don't do these classes anymore, but I'll call you. So we set up a time and he called me and we talked for 2 hours. And it was a tidal wave of information. I mean, I could not believe all the resources that I had at my fingertips. So that was a little overwhelming, but I was just taking notes frantically. I was just desperate to learn. But I really appreciated him, just being able to take the time to talk to me. So I just wanted to go over with you some of the resources that he shared with me at that time. And maybe it could be helpful to you if you're not familiar with these resources. But there have been a lot of other books that I have, I guess now I own over the years. But it started out with Flora of the Four Corners, but now of course I have Flora of Colorado by Jennifer Ackerfield. I also have Flora Neo-Mexicana by Kelly Alred. And of course, Stanley Welsh's A Utah Flora. And it's helpful if you have more than one key, and Al has taught me this, that everybody has a different way of looking at a flower, and there's different ways of keying it out. And so everyone has their specific way, and sometimes it's helpful, sometimes it's not. And so it's really good to have just a whole bunch of books at your fingertips to be able to go through. Also have Intermountain Flora, thanks to Bob Powell. And I don't know if Bob's listening this evening, but he was very sweet in giving me his Intermountain Flora books. So here is one of those resources is BONAP, so Biota North America Project. And you can tell this is a website by Dr. John Cartez in North Carolina. And he has been amazing in also helping me. And he is a very, very busy man, but he's been wonderful source of information. You can email him and he will email you back, which floors me because I know he is so busy. But anyway, this website is, the purpose of it is to keep track of plants in North America, which is very important because you want to know where the noxious plants are, you want to know where the rare plants are. There's a lot of reasons for keeping track of plants in North America. And so this is an amazing website and it's taken so much work to put this together. But what you can do is you plug in your genera, your genus, which is Helianthus, and then you go over to your species. And then if you go over to Colorado, I don't know if you, yeah, Colorado, and then each one of each county has been outlined. So our county is down there in the southwest corner of La Plata. And so the dark green, the forest green that you see means that it's native to North America. And then the light green, if you see a light green in your county, it means that it's present. And then the pink means that it's noxious in other places.
Wow.
So it's very important, because how I would use this is I would find what I thought was my plant, and then I would go to this website and I would check to see if anybody else had found that plant in La Plata County. And if they had not, then it was a red flag for me. I had to think twice, well, if no one else has found it, then that could mean that I've got the wrong plant. I've misidentified it. But that's not always the case, because then sometimes plants have not been found. And sometimes you might be the first one to find it or to report it. And that's called a county record. And I was able to find 22 of those county records just by going out and combing the trails around our town. And anybody can do it. And he wants people to do it. He wants people like you and I to report this to him. This is John Cartez. So if you find something that he doesn't have listed, but you know for sure that you know what you have, you can email him and send him a picture of your plant and tell him, hey, I found this. And then he'll be able to record that. So where's my cursor? Oh, there it is. Okay. All right, this is another resource. Oh, do you have a question?
What was his name again?
John Cartez. So, yeah, Kartez. Cartez. SignNet is another resource, and yeah, the question was what? Okay, so SignNet is swbiodiversity.org, and it stands for Southwestern Environmental Information Network. So this is super helpful, and I didn't realize how helpful this would be over time. But this is where you can go and you can find the specimens that other people have collected and put and placed in different herbariums throughout North America. And so they'll have, actually, this might just be Southwest, but so what people do, like students at universities, professors, even people like you and me, we can go out and we can collect specimens of plants, we can press them, mount them on paper, then send them into these herbariums, and then they keep them, and other people can go and look at them. So even here at Fort Lewis College, we have an herbarium, and it is run by Dr. Ross McCauley. And he has also been a person that has really, really helped me with this book. He's been wonderful to let me into the herbarium to look at specimens anytime that I need to. He's taken time to key out some of my plants with me. And I've learned a lot from him. So I really appreciate Ross for all the time that he's taken. So you can actually go to herbariums like this, but so this website though will show you what herbariums have. So you can go in and you can put in the name of your plant, and then you click on it and it shows up. You can get to this page and then you can zoom in on it. And so this is our Helianthus annuus. And it says it was located on Fort Lewis College campus in Durango on the northern end of Rim Drive, directly above Chapman Hill. So it tells you exactly where it is. It's probably one of the students. I don't even, is there a name? I think, yeah, collector H. Brown. It was probably a student that was taking a botany course. So actually I could go into that herbarium tomorrow and go look at that exact specimen, because it would be there filed away in one of the folders. And that has been super helpful, because if you're not quite sure if the plant that you have, you can go in there and compare it with other plants that are there. Let's see. So, do you guys have any? I'm going to take a few minutes for questions if you have any.
Where is the herbarium?
The herbarium is at Fort Lewis College. Oh, here. So
Yeah.
if you, it's actually directly across from the Sky Steps. So if you go to the top of the Sky Steps, and then you go, if you know where those are, then you go across. It's the building across from that. Actually, it's right next to the admissions. So if you go to the admissions, just to the left of that is the science or biology building.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Anybody else? Okay. All right, so now I'll start talking about my dream of making the book. So after a few years of learning how to key out flowers and learning about the resources, in 2019, I thought, okay, I have a dream. I would really like to do this book for the town of Durango, because I was just curious, how many plants are there? People are always wanting to know what they are when you're on a trail. But I wanted to be very specific about the flowers in our town. I didn't want to just be general. So I wanted to make sure that I was very accurate in keying it out to the very species, and sometimes the variety or the subspecies. Books, even though they're helpful, sometimes most of the flower books that you buy, they're general books that kind of tell you what is in the general state of Colorado. It's hard to find a book that's very specific to your own town, because the species that are in our town are not the same species that are in Fort Collins or Gunnison. So I wanted to be very specific about the ones that are right here and on our trails. So what I would do, I came up with a list of trails that I wanted to hike or bike every day, because I'm also an avid mountain biker. So that's how I was able to cover so many miles. But I came up with about 20 trails, and you can see them listed here. Actually, Durango West is not one of the trails. I didn't want to include that in the book because that's not a public trail, but I was still, doing the trail in my neighborhood. So I had to mark that. But this is a list that I came up with that I used every week. And so every week I decided that I would, do a trail or two a day. And then I would mark what trail I did. And then on the back of it, I put the trail and then the list of all the flowers that I found on that trail. And then not only that, but after spending hours on the trails, I would come home and then I would have to spend a few hours logging in pictures, logging in what I found. But I used an Excel spreadsheet to put all the flowers on there. So I did it so that, when I went to do the book, I would have the order of the flowers already. So this is the page order of the flowers. And so as I collected flowers, I would like enter them in the order that I thought that I might put them in the book. And this is by color. So this starts with the white colors. So these are the white flowers. There's actually another list that I couldn't fit it all on there. So then I would of course, I was taking pictures of the flowers the whole time that I was out on the field. And this is a Balsamorrhiza sagittata. So an arrowleaf balsam root. And I had to learn how to take pictures. And I didn't have one of those expensive cameras. And I didn't know how to use one of those expensive cameras, nor did I want to carry one of those really big cameras while I'm mountain biking. So the only thing I had was my iPhone. So that's what I used for every picture. Different iPhones, the last couple of years. And so I thought I would share with you like some tips, maybe if you'd like to know about how to take good pictures with your iPhone. The first thing that you have to do is make sure that there's no shadows being cast on your flower. I think a lot of people forget about that and they start clicking photos, but maybe they're casting the shadow on the flower. And so then you've got half the flower has a little shadow on it and some doesn't. So it's important to make sure that you're not casting any shadow. The second thing is that I always zoom in. Whoops. I always zoom in. Okay. Okay. So I always zoom in to at least two power. Because most of my pictures in my book, they're not going to be whole plants. Because to put whole plants in my book, you would lose all of that detail that I'm trying to get you to see with your hand lens. So I needed to take really close-up photos. So I have photos of the flower itself, and then I have photos of the leaves, because that's really important to tell plants apart. So I was really hoping to get some really good details. As you can see, there are some hairs on there. There's hairs on the pedicel there, the stem. There's hairs. I think you can see a little on the back of the petals at the top. So the next thing is that you have to put your finger on the camera on the place that you want to focus it. And then I learned that if you hold your finger on it for a few seconds, the little square shows up where you want your plant where you want to focus, and it stays there. So you don't have to keep putting your finger on the place you want to focus, it'll just stay there. And then because, I need glasses to see close up, I have to put my glasses on. And then you have to move your camera back and forth to make sure that you're really getting it in focus, because it's not enough to do 2 power. You have to make sure you're actually focusing. So I would do that, and then you click the photo. And then if the flower was super, super tiny and I didn't want to go any higher in my power of my lens because it gets too grainy. And so I bought like a $20 macro lens from Amazon, and you can put that on the back of your camera on your lens, and you can take photos with just 2 power, but yet it's not grainy. And you get the close-up picture of that tiny little flower that you do. And then I'll tell you my other secret. I go home and I edit my photos, because even if you get really good quality photos, the lighting is still really bad and you still get some darkness behind the flower. So you have to edit them. All right, so the first season had many mistakes. One, I was too quick to put a name on a flower before I read all the characteristics in the descriptive key. Therefore, there were many that were misidentified. I also missed many photos from the early season plants because I thought I would just use the photos that I had already taken from my neighborhood. Actually, I decided in the middle of the summer that I wanted every single photo to be taken on one of the trails in Durango. I didn't want it to be from my neighborhood. So I thought, oh, I missed all those flowers. So then I had to make up for it the following season. Also, I didn't take any specimens home. I didn't really know much about specimens or the importance of them. I thought that I could depend on my memory of what I thought the plant looked like or depend on my photo, but that's not the case. I had to like keep going back and back to the same plant, which I could have just taken the plant home and looked at it. So that is lesson learned. I also didn't always have a flower key with me. I also thought I could rely on my memory or the photo and key it out when I got home, but that doesn't happen either. You miss a lot and you don't realize what you need to be looking for. So I had to start carrying a key with me the next year that I did the flowers. Also, I didn't have a microscope. That's why I had to go to John's house and borrow his, because there's certain things that you can't see with a hand lens. You have to have a microscope in order to tell certain species apart, such as the Oreocardia seeds, the Cryptantha. They have these little nutlets, and there's 2 Oreocardia that we have here in our town. And one has smooth seeds and one has rough seeds. And that's really the best way you can tell those plants apart. So unless you're used to seeing them. So in order to remedy these mistakes, I spent a lot of time in the winter going over every single flower, coming up with my own descriptions. I wanted to make sure that every picture, every flower that I had was the exact flower that it was. And if I had any doubt at all, after reading the whole description, looking at my picture, if I had any doubt at all, I made a list of those flowers so that I could go and look at them the following summer. Also, if I had pictures that were missing, I went over all my pictures, made sure they were all on one of the trails in Durango. If they weren't, or if I was missing them, if they were from my neighborhood or whatever, I made a list of those flowers and made sure that the following season I was going to hit all of those flowers, make sure I got all the picture, make sure I rechecked all those flowers that I had any doubt whatsoever about. And so I, had to go through all that. Okay, so this is county records. So Polynicia dodecanthra is the red-whiskered clammy weed. And it is a plant that I found in Grandview area. So there is a few in the Big Canyon Trail on the Big Canyon. And if you go up, if you look at our state of Colorado, and if you look at our La Plata County, you will see that it is not highlighted in the bright green. That means that Polynicia dodecanthra is not recorded as being present in our county. So that would be a county record that I found. And so I emailed John Cortez, told him that I had found this flower and sent in a picture. And so it is now counted. There was 22 of those that I found, and I thought you guys might be interested. But I also wanted to, so I emailed John Cortez and I said, can you tell me the importance of county records so that people understand why they're so important? So it says plant distributions are a byproduct of the physical environment for a particular geographic area over a long evolutionary time. They are dynamic, influenced greatly by soil types, quality of rainfall, moisture regimes in both the air and soil, temperature, and other climatic and edaphic factors. In some cases, plant populations have in fact been shown to alter climatic conditions within a geographic area. Their distributions help define habitats across the globe from areas of the tropics to the Arctic. They determine and in fact dictate the type and number of faunal species found within a particular geographic area. Locating new county records within a particular U.S. state generally result from several factors. First, some plants are gradually expanding their ranges into new habitats or new physical locations. Secondly, humans are constantly exploring new locations overlooked or explored previously. Thirdly, because of more effective identification tools, humans are becoming better trained at looking for subtle but unique characters, which helps them separate closely related plants. Thus, new locations are becoming established. Tracking new county records is essential for establishing the rate of speed of certain introduced or exotic species. Moreover, knowing where plants exist is useful when plotting ranges of these species. Knowing where existing populations of noxious plants occur helps spray teams and others focus their efforts in controlling or eradicating these plants. Knowledge of new county records is also invaluable for understanding plant rarity. New county locations of rare plants help ensure continued protection of these species and their habitats. All right. So I just wanted to share with you those county records, so that when you find them on the trails, you can admire them. This one is so popular that I don't know why no one's reported it, but is the Cimbrium loeseli, which is a small tumbleweed mustard. Let's see this other one. This is Potentia recta, which is sulfur cinquefoil. Oh, you want me to tell you where I found them? Okay. All right, so the sulfur cinquefoil is dry fork. And loeseli is everywhere. It's the river trail. It's everywhere. The Solidago nano, that was barn roof point. Which is baby goldenrod. Let's see. The Rudbeckia herda, that's over at Oxbow. And that is the black-eyed Susan. This is Crepus tectorum, which is narrow-leaf hawksbeard. I found that over in the library area on the river trail. Also, there's Phaceria floribunda, which is the point-tip bladder pod. That's over in Mountain Park. Coreopsis tincturea, that's also Oxbow. That's a plains Coreopsis. And the Cleomela lutea yellow bee plant, that's in the parking lot, and the first parking lot at Lake Nighthorse. Then you have Mensalia multiflora, which is the Donus blazing star. That's over in Mountain Park, and also Lake Nighthorse. Okay, so here's your Polynesia dodecandra, the red whiskered clammy weed. You can see the red filaments in the anthers, which is like red whiskers. Then you have the apricot tree, which I don't know, again, why that wasn't reported, because that's all over our town. That's just everywhere. Then we have the hairy nightshade. So Solanum facilifolium, now it's Nitidabacatum, which is, that's a mouthful. Let's see, I don't know, I don't remember exactly. Oh, I think Fort Lewis Rim Trail was one of the places, and also Oxbow. And then we have the Thylopodium wrighty, that is Skyline over in Mountain Park and Parents Peak. And then we have Lonicera tatarica, the Tatarian honeysuckle, that is on the river trail. That's very popular. And this is Eaton's penstemon, and that is on Fort Lewis Rim Trail. And then you have Strawberry Blight right here, which is on the North River Trail, over kind of by Oxbow, but not quite there. And then you have your California poppy, which is also on the river trail. Okay, so this plant right here, I'm not going to take credit for that. Actually, Travis Ward is the one that found this plant. And so he found that over in the Fort Lewis College area. That is the broadleaf helleborine. And then this next one is Symphyotrichum spatulatum, so spatula aster. That is at Twin Buttes, but it's also a lot of other places though. Also Parents Peak, the dog park. Sometimes we get it mixed up with Symphyiotrichum ascendens. So anyway, and then this next one is Astragalus missouriensis, but variety humostratus. All right, and then we have Ambrosia Celostachia, if that's how you pronounce it. It's a Western ragweed, and that's where is it? Oh, Fort Lewis. Actually, the Astragalus missouriensis was at Falls Creek. And then the Ulmus americana, that's on the South River Trail, is kind of down from Santa Rita, underneath the bridge. All right, so then we have some rare plants that I found. So I just discovered which were rare and which weren't, because there's a website where you can go to find all of the rare plants in Colorado. So what I did is I got on the website and then I went through every single one of the plants that were listed as rare in Colorado and wrote down which ones that I had found. And so we have Astragalus proximus, which is the Aztec milkvetch. Oh, keep forgetting the cursor should be over here. So Aztec milkvetch. And then, and Aztec milkvetch is on Skyline. It's also on the South River Trail. This Astragalus iodopetalus, the violet milkvetch, is on Twin Buttes. We have Hayden Scilia, and it's Aliciella Hayden. I actually found this one on the Dry Fork Road, so the road to the Dry Fork Trail. There's other Aliciellas that are on Hogsback and also over in Mountain Park. This one is Eriogonum leptophyllum. So the slender leaf buckwheat, that's over in Mountain Park and also Lake Nighthorse. And then this was rare as well as a county record, but it's your Astragalus missouriensis, Missouri milkvetch, that's in Falls Creek. There's also another one in Dry Fork, but I'm not sure of the exact variety on that, because this variety humostratus is the rare one, but the one in Dry Fork, I didn't get a chance to get to the variety on that, so it might be different. Okay, any questions before I show you the book? Yeah.
When you're collecting these specimens, and you mentioned that was a mistake you had made.
Yeah.
And how you handled it. So how do you handle it? Do you take the sample plant whole, not only for you press it, or do you press it immediately? You do that.
So when I make a mistake, is that what
No,
you're asking?
when you do it right.
Oh, when I do it right, yeah. So if it's a plant that there's plenty of them, I don't want to take like the only specimen there is. So I do take the plant, and I have a plant press. So I had a really heavy backpack. As well as my water and my lunch, I had Jennifer Ackerfield's book because it was smaller, easier to carry. I had my plant press in there. I had a spade in case I had to dig something up. And I don't know. So I would take the plant and I would put it in my plant press, and I would mark where I found it and what I thought it was. And then I would just take it home, and then I would look at it under my microscope and just key it out, better at home. Yeah. Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you always carried your plant press?
Okay. Yeah. The second season I did. Yeah. I didn't go anywhere without it. Because I realized that I got tired of going back and back and back to the same plant. If I didn't key it out right, or if I realized I made a mistake, I was like, I got to go back and look at that again. But if I could just take it with me, that's so much easier.
And what was your criteria for actually getting up?
Actually taking it. I don't always take up the whole plant. I can take like a stem, like one of the flower stalks. you know, or I can take a leaf, or, you know, I don't have to take a whole plant. So there's not a lot of them that I took the whole entire plant and actually dug it up. Sometimes though, I did need to know what the roots look like, to know if there's corms or if it was an annual or a perennial, or, you know, there's different things that you need to know. And so I had to like dig around the plant with the spade to see what the roots look like.
I just wanted to add, I get tired of carrying the plant press around.
Yeah.
What's worked for me is just to take some plastic bags, maybe sprinkle a little water so there's some humidity in the bag. Collect the plant, put it in the bag, try not to get it crushed. Bring it home and then put it in a plant press. In a plant press, you can put it between two pieces of newspaper, and you know, she's got a big press, I've got a press, it's meant for that, but you can just use encyclopedias, remember those? Or something heavy that you can put some weight on and just let it sit there, and it'll dry out eventually. It'll become a dried specimen, but it'll be preserved.
So you don't worry about it being wet before you press it.
I dry it out when I get home. Yeah, just let it out, sit out in the open air for a little bit, get it dried out, and then put it between newspaper and press it. And then you don't have to carry the heavy stuff around.
Okay, so this is going to be, this is the title of the book, The Wildflowers of Durango Trails. And this is Smelter, this is the top of Smelter Mountain. So I just really wanted to thank Elle Snyder for really helping me in this process to get to this point where I can actually write the book. He has just been such a huge help in just teaching me, just taking time, taking my phone calls, emailing me back, whatever it was. I've really learned a lot from him. So much so that I had a really good idea. I thought, I'm going to ask him to be my editor. So he graciously accepted. And so he and I have been working desperately to get this done. He goes over all my pages with me and tells me what things are not right, but he is just an expert on the plants in this, in the southwest corner here for sure. Just an expert on plants in general. And so it's just been a joy to work with him, and we have a lot of fun going over these, and I just keep learning and learning. Also, I just want to thank those in the room and online who went on those flower walks with me this past summer, because a lot of the plants in my book are actually plants that you guys found for me when we were on those walks. And so that was kind of cool, because I might have missed those plants had I not had people with me saying, oh my gosh, what's this? So that was kind of cool. So I wanted to tell you just the purpose of writing my book. The purpose was to see how many flowers I could find and be able to share them with you. I wanted to help others appreciate the beauty that is in their own backyards. And also to help professional botanists to have a better understanding of what really exists in this area. And then because my book is so heavily trail focused, not just flowers, but on every page I tell you where you're going to find this flower. And I've been hiking about 20 different trails over the last 2 seasons. And I wouldn't be able to put this flower book together if it weren't for these trails that we have. And so I really appreciate the organization, Durango Trails Organization. Used to be called Trails 2000. Because without those trails, I wouldn't be able to do this book. And so I have already let them know that a lot of my profits will go towards this organization from the book. All right, so the book will not, my goal is June. So I have a lot more to go. I mean, I'm almost done with the pages. I think I have about 40 more pages left. But then I've got a lot of the glossary, the index, the introduction, all that kind of stuff's going to take a while too. So this is what a page looks like, or one page. These are actually 2 different pages in the book. I just gave you a sample of the different colors. This is just 2 pages. So the white flowers, the white page that you see here on the left, there are three different rigorons, but they're flowers that many people get mixed up. They don't really see the difference. Now, when you put them together like this, it's easier to see the difference than if you see them on the field and they're separate from each other. Now these pages in my book are for all different kinds of levels. So if you're just on that level where I was about, 20 years ago, just looking at pictures, then you can use this book to just look at the pictures and try to identify your flower. Now, if you want to go to the next level and just look at these little flower shapes that I put on top of the pictures, I put them in very simple terms, as simple as I could, so that you can see the difference between these three flowers. Now, if you want to go a step further and you want to look closely down here, that is in botanical terms. And then you'll have to use the glossary in the back of the book if you're not familiar with these words. But I was hoping that if you want to extend your knowledge, you can look at these look closely descriptions of the flowers to get a little bit more characteristics. And then hopefully, maybe it will be a step to being able to use one of those big keys like the flora and the four corners. It's just a step in that direction. And then on the pink page, and I call this pink purple because there's two kinds of purples. You've got a pink purple and a blue purple. And so this is my pink and pink purple page. And you can see that they're actually all mint family. And so I give a little blurb about characteristics of the mint family just to help teach about the differences in different types of families. So I just try to put little facts, fun facts in those little shapes that kind of help people learn a little bit more about what the flowers are. So then I just wanted to hone in on the description there. So we have a sticky goldenrod, and then we have the scientific name, Solidago glutinosa, and then what family it's in, and then Asteraceae, which is the scientific name for the family. And then July through September is the blooming time. So that's when you're going to find this flower blooming. And then I have abbreviations for the trails that I found it on. Now, if there were more than 5 trails, I put a plus sign because I didn't have room to put every single trail that I find this flower on. Sometimes it's on every single trail. But the first trail that I list here is where I took the picture. And this is log shoots. So LG stands for log shoots. And I'll have an abbreviation page in the back of the book that tells you what all the abbreviations are for the trails. CT is Colorado Trail. So you can also find this on Colorado Trail. And then underneath that is the height that the plant, it's possible for it to grow to. So it can grow to 50 centimeters or 20 inches. And then whether or not it's native or non-native, or it might be rare, or it might be a county record, that's just where you're going to find that information. So I just want to end with just 2 more slides, and then you guys can ask questions. But this is my family now, and I have to tell you. So this young lady right here is the 12-year-old that was in that picture at American Basin, and now she's married and has 3 children. So I have, and then we have Rebecca, who was the 10-year-old in that picture, and now she's married and has little Havila. So they have one. So I have 4 little granddaughters, and then I have Micah, who was 7 years old then, and now he's 24. And then I have Lila, who's 21 now, and she was 4 at the time. This is my husband, and I just want to do a shout out to him. I thank him so much for just putting up with all of this plant craze, and also for losing me for the last 2 years, because he really hasn't seen much of me as I go out and I look at plants all day. But he has been very gracious and supportive, and my whole family has been supportive. It's just been wonderful to be able to do this with that support. And then my last photo, I don't know if you guys ever saw me out on the trail. Maybe you wouldn't have recognized me, but maybe you recognize my dog. This is Buddy. And so he was out on the trail with me for much of it. But I also just want to thank God for giving me the power and the desire to be able to do this, what I feel like he's called me to do. Just may these flowers proclaim his name. And that is all I have for you guys.
So really quickly, I'd love to jump to the questions we had in the Zoom chat, and then we will put it back in the room for you guys to ask some questions. Is that all right with you guys? Beautiful. Okay. So, one of the first questions we got was from Carol, and she asked, "Are you indicating native plants to the U.S., native to Colorado, horticultural plants, etc., in your book?"
They're native to North America. And then if they're present here and native, then I consider it native.
Perfect. Thank you. Let's see. She also asked another question. Do you have permits for collecting? Are you collecting on city land or Forest Service land?
Gosh, I might be in trouble.
Oh no, for the Forest
Yeah,
Service
I
too.
do not have a permit. Yeah.
So. Kevin asked if there will be grasses in your book or if it's just flowers.
It is just angiosperms.
Awesome. And then JD did ask where your book is available, and I let him know it's not published quite yet. And that would be still looking for an avenue for that to be made available.
Right, we are. Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out where I'm going to be selling the book, but I mean it'll be made known either through Colorado Native Plant Society or the Durango Trails. I'm sure we'll put it on their website where it's going to be sold, but it'll be more like June.
Awesome. Then I did have a comment / question from Maggie. Wanted to put it out there. Maybe she can hop on here to clarify, but she said, "I was wondering about the ragweed. Is that native?" And I think she means to the region, Southwest region.
Okay. It might be. I don't remember actually.
That's all good.
Yeah.
She said she didn't have her acrofield with her, so she wasn't there.
She'll have to get on Bone app to figure that out.
Yep. Perfect. That is all the questions I'm seeing right now from the chat, so I'd love to open it up to the room for you guys. Feel free to raise your hand or just shout it out, whatever you prefer. Do.
How many species did you end up with?
Good question. I ended up with about 400.
Wow.
In the book.
Yeah, 400 in the book. Yeah, Heidi?
I'm wondering, since you looked for plants over several seasons, if you came across a situation where you had seen plants one year and not the next, and then I'm sure there was a great variation in between when you first saw plants from one year to another too.
Yeah,
Can
there
you
was.
just talk a little bit about the variation that you
Yeah.
saw in over different years?
Yeah, there's definitely those plants that I did not see again. So I do have a few in there that I didn't see this year and that I saw last year. I'm hoping maybe they'll show up again, or maybe they bloomed and were gone before I got there. So that's another thing. I did find a lot more the second year than I did the first, and that just could be my oversight. It could be a lot more moisture that we got. There's a lot of different factors in that.
Are there certain species that are gonna move every year? Like 3 year, 2 or 3?
Yeah, that's definitely, there's definitely species like that. The Fracera, I mean, I still haven't seen it bloom, but I know it's out there, it's on log shoots. But the green gentian, it's just not blooming. And I'm like, for 2 years, it hasn't bloomed. So that is definitely one that just blooms like, I don't know how often. So
You say, just talk a little bit about the process of self-publishing, where you're getting it printed.
Mhm.
and-
Yeah, it's kind of hard to talk about that at this point because I'm not quite there. I just know I found a printing, it's the short run printing in Phoenix. And so I'm just gonna have them, you just send all your stuff to them and they print it off. I mean, you'll just have to pay for it up front. The hardest thing is like, how many do I have printed off? Because I have no idea how many are gonna sell. So then I might get stuck with a lot of books. So that's kind of an issue.
What software are you using to put this together?
I do Photoshop Elements is what I've been making my pages on. And I put it in PDF form, and I think that's the form that you need in order to send it to a book publishing company. Yeah, so there's still a lot of things to figure out. I got to figure out how to get, the copyright, how to. There's just a lot of different things that kind of unknowns right now. I'm just trying to get through finishing the book first.
Have you thought about trying to find somebody to actually publish it for you?
I've actually talked to some people that have published books and they tell me to self-publish. A lot of it is too, you're gonna lose a lot of profit. And I really want to be able to choose who I want to give my profit to. And I don't want it to go to a publishing company necessarily. And so that's why I just want to try to.
Any other questions from anyone else in the room?
This is Maggie. I
One
just,
sec, thank you guys so much for Karen to come and present for us. It was an amazing presentation. We really appreciate all the work that you've done and we're really, really, really excited for this to come out. And just want to say we have our next presentation on March 7th for staff that's going to be presenting about gardening for pollinators. We hope to see you there.